So, y'all, I'm gonna be holding this microphone in my hand. I'm not gonna clip it to my shirt. It looks stupid. It can't twist, so I'm just gonna hold it. I don't know how the volume's gonna be, but I'm not being too long and I'm not being too loud here because I don't know if my neighbors are home. But anyway, I just needed to do a video real quick. Um, well, to just get into things right away, I ended up getting high on Friday and I did dope. I shot up again. Um, and I fell out 2 times. I woke up on the floor 2 times. I did this at my mom's house, and my mom knew that I was high. And, I know how she gets because of my brother overdosing and dying, my older brother. If I would happen to get emotional, see, this is why I didn't make videos for the last 2 days, because these drugs, these synthetic drugs, they block out so much stuff, and they're like a demon in and of themselves. They are a demon. They are a demon. They're and I have many of my own demons. Many, many, many of my own demons in my life. And I've been and it doesn't mean anything. I don't want any, it means something right now. I know that there's no ultimate meaning to anything, but it means something to me right now, and I want something to mean something to other people. This is not a way to live. It's just not a way to live. And I was never like this when I was younger. I know what I know, and I know things, and I have looked into the whole philosophical, the whole ideologies, religion, culture, just everything that you can think of, history. I mean, I know too much stuff for my own good almost. This is philosophy can become a very dangerous thing. I mean, it's something horribly glorious. That's the only way I can describe it. I describe this, I describe all this as the horrible glory of everything in our world. But we have a decision. We have a choice, my brothers and sisters out there, if we are going. And you gotta forgive me here, because when I do these drugs, it I cannot tell you. You know what though? It's very strange. It's very, very strange. I did this about 2 years ago too. I was down here in this very room, and right over here on the floor, I overdosed, and I woke up on the floor on my back. Things were on the floor, bags were on the counter. And you don't tell people this because you don't want to expose your pride. You see, and there's something that in my life that I have discovered about humans. I think there are two kinds of humans on this planet. people that think there may be a God, or people that, are into these satanic things or whatever it is. And I don't want to get into religion in this video. That's not what I want to do. But this is not a religious thing for me, though. This is why it's so hard to describe to people. I just go by things that I know, that I know, that I know, and I let them be at that. You see, I don't push this on anybody. I only know what I know for myself, and I tell people that. But what I have seen in this, I'm not trying to make this too long here. I have seen that I think there are people in this world that they keep their pride in their own closet. They keep it hidden away. They don't want to tell people what is really, really going on in their life and in their mind and in their metaphorical hearts or souls or whatever people want to call it. And I know I have a part of me. There are some things that I have done that I don't think I will ever tell anybody, because it's so horrible and I'm so ashamed of what I did. I can never do anything to justify the things that I have done in my life. And I just know for me, I just seen a video of Mark Wahlberg on here saying about how God is important in his life. See, I see God as a reflection of ourselves. But yet we cannot know of these things unless we learn of these things. You see, I could have never knew anything that was in the Bible or any other doctrine. I couldn't have applied that to my life if I wouldn't have knew about that, if I wouldn't have read it and got something from it for myself. But I don't do it religiously. Excuse me. I just shaved and I got a hair in my stinking eye and it's like caught in my eye. So, but I do not look at, when I read a text, I do not call it religion. I don't do that. I read it for what it is. And that's why I say that the ultimate thing that I have come to is I have bared my own burden and my own shame upon myself. And the only way that I could see that is through the gospel and Jesus Christ. And I know there's some of you out there, you don't want to hear this, and I don't blame you. I do not blame you because of what they have pushed onto you, what they have told you, what, maybe mothers and fathers and family and other people have told you, and they may be living religiously. You see, religion is a practice, y'all. Knowing something is knowing, and you keep it in your mind to remember when you need to remember it, and you might need to bring that up in a certain situation at a time. There is always a place. If you have ever read Ecclesiastes, there's always a time for everything. And see, it's so easy. It's so easy, even on these videos, to go right back to my pride, to go right back to, hold on, y'all. And this hair really got in my eye. It's so easy to go back to either putting yourself on a pedestal or lowering yourself to the deepest dungeon that you can possibly think of. And that happens with me. My brain does something automatically. I had this my whole life. I have had I have had some kind of, I'm just going to use a term that I can describe it. I can't really describe it for people. Maybe I am a schizo. Maybe I do have bipolar, but I know that I am not insane. I am very, very sane and intact with what I am doing. Even when I'm on these drugs, I'm very keen, but I start getting in my own I start letting my own demons do something that I really can't explain. It drives me. It takes me places where I would never thought that I would go, and it has done things. I have done sexual acts. I have slept with women that I should not have slept with. And I'm not going to get into details because that's my business. I could get into the details, but I'm not going to do that because it is what it is. It happened. It's my life. It's my business. And I have to bear that burden. And that, see, but this is what is so hard. This is what is so hard to describe to people. The reason that I am ashamed of some things that I did is because of how I might have made another person feel. And I know this is just maybe saying like, "Oh, well, you're still not taking accountability, Nate. You're still running from what you did." No, I'm not. I'm not running from things that I did. I have murdered, I have killed before, I have killed animals, I have see, I don't really know if I want to get into this because this is not some kind of I'm spewing my guts out here, and it's like this is just a video for me to do this, but I mean, I did a lot of bad shit, some guy that used to live down the street from my Gram's house. I used to be a very cruel kid. I mean, I was very outgoing and I was very kind and I was very generous, but I had this vicious, this almost sadistic side to me when I was younger, man. And women, I had this thing in me. It was just a seed in me that I can't describe. I would get so angry and I would just get this weird feeling over me, and I would do these things to people like showing off to make it look like I was cool or I was better. And then, I'm like throwing this tennis ball at this guy named Paul. He lived down the streets from my Grams, and the guy he was, retarded. He had issues. He had mental issues. And I was, throwing a ball at this guy, and I'm telling you, man, I deserve everything that I got and more. And I am telling you that it has came back definitely tenfold, avenge sevenfold. Let me tell you something. Don't ever think that karma is not going to come back. I just wrote something about the Nazis in my journal, Yeah, you see the uniforms, and you get this thought of glory, and you see the eagle on it, and you see the Nazis in their suits with their what is it, what are they called, the Eitzengruber, and like the what is it called, the guys in black. I mean, I really do like the uniforms, but you look at these uniforms and you see the grandiosity of it, and you see the rallies and the pep rallies, and you see the people get together, and you see Hitler speaking, and he's got the people in a trance. He got them in a spell. And yes, there's something about that draws me in. There's something about that where my pride, Years ago, I used to watch movies, and I would want to salute and put on the uniform, and think that I was a tough guy, and all this stuff. And I would even do that stuff. I would even throw up my hands and do all that stuff just out of ignorance, out of pure ignorance. um but you see all of that. You see the tiger tanks, and and I'm just using this one example, because I just wrote about it, and there's hundreds. If you just look through history, there's so many examples, over and over and over and over and over and over again, of men with their institutions, with their ideologies, with their worship of idols. It just goes on and on and on and on. And this is why, the music of the 90s was a time for me that was very exciting. It was life, it was living. It was like I was just listening to Atlantis Morissette, One Hand in My Pocket, and Enigma, Return to Innocence, and Gangster's Paradise, and Goidier. I don't know what his name is. Somebody that I used to know. I mean, there's just songs that are they're music that just resonates with my very being. Yes, they do. But then I have this side of me that it's still there, but I know better. You see, and this is why you guys and you gals might be wondering, why do I mention Jesus Christ so much? Because that is what turned me from that. That is what made me see what I was doing, made me recognize my own pride. It made me put myself to shame so that I could know the things that I was doing myself, to recognize myself and to reflect on myself. And you see, pride never wants to reflect. Pride wants to stay hidden. And pride wants to say, I'm better than the next man. And see, I'm very compassionate about this. Like I said, I have too much passion, because you see, when I talk, I kind of overdo it. But I can't help it. And like I was saying, you see all this, you see all the uniforms, you see all of the you see all the soldiers and their nice outfits, and you see the pep rallies, and you see the talks, and the whole thing with rallying people together and getting them excited. But then, but then, but then, behind all of that, see, this is the part nobody wants to look at, because we cannot bear the shame of what we have done to ourselves. You see, we don't look at the death camps. We don't look at Treblinka and Auschwitz, and we don't look at how mothers and fathers and children were dragged out in the middle of the night, shot in the back of the head in lines, gassed with Zyklon B, and just, I mean, the worst atrocities that you can ever think of that we have done to each other. And there's some of us, we have this sickness in us where we look at these things, and yes, there are bloodthirsty men. There are men that have bloodlust, and I used to be one of them. And there's still a part in me that it has its pride, but I am not thirsty for another man's blood. I cannot shed the blood of my brother or my sister or any mother or father anymore. Listen, I might beat them up with words. I might have tough, solid, firm love for them. And I'm just using the words that best describe what I can use to describe these things. I can, you know, and I'm getting off track here. I'm losing train of thought. But I can have love for them and all that. But I would say I wrote this too. When you beat your brother up, it usually means that you love your brother. Your hate is coming from some kind of love, and your love is coming from some kind of hate. No matter what I do, no matter what we do, I don't think we can escape these contradictions. And I don't think that we can stop either seeing everything up here and looking at these people. Oh, I like this person more than these people. This guy and this ideology, I'm for that thing. Oh yeah, I'm for the Germans, but I'm not for the Japanese. I'm for I'm for Jewish Germans, but the Jews, oh no, their blood's not pure. Oh well, the Aryan blood, that's the Aryan race, and that's the master blood, and this is what blacks, whites, Spaniards, Mexicans, this is what everybody does in the world. Do you see how these sects and these cults and all these things are formed? But before I go any further, you see, or we always look down upon everyone. Oh no, look at that bum. Look at that guy. Look at that person down there. I'm better than him. I can do everything better than that guy. Oh well, him, he's not like me, so who is he? And then we just kind of, it's like some girl said, and I don't like to use this as an example, but it's kind of like when people take the Holy Eucharist and they just take the bread and the wine and they just, it's like nothing. They just do it and then, oh, there's crumbs on my fingers. That's done with. Now let me go back out and be prideful and live my life and do all these abominations and just get into all these things like I still do, and nobody learns anything. Well, let me take that back. See, I got to be careful with my words here. This is another thing that I realized. I got to be careful with what I'm saying because I want my words to count when they need to count. But yes, there's people that understand these things, and there's a lot more people than what we think that understand these things. They're just not showing people that they might understand, but they don't understand. There are some people that they do not look into this at all. Probably they don't want to look at it because I'm telling you, if you could literally experience what I have experienced. This is the thing that I want to talk about before I end this video. I don't know how many of you have ever wept before. I'm talking about a weeping that you cannot describe to a person. You can't do it. This is not crying. Weeping is not crying. Let me tell you something. Weeping is not like crying. I haven't seen a man cry until a man dies. That's a certain weeping, yes. But what I mean by weeping is when you watch something like Chris Watts, what he did to his children and his wife and what he did to them. And even though that was very horrible, we're supposed to forgive people that do this kind of stuff. And there's people, they would go, that's blasphemy. What do you mean forgive him? Stone him to death. He has to die for what he did. Yes, it's horrible. And there's no way that people like him or there's another guy named Chris. Chris something that killed his child too and buried him. I mean, when you think of this, it makes my blood run viciously cold. I mean, I have been sick. I have wept bitterly sick from these things. And I'm not exaggerating that when I say it. I mean, and this is, you see, what's really weird is this is why at the beginning of the video I said, it's very strange, but it's almost like I needed to relapse. It's almost like it needs to happen once in a blue moon for me. I don't know. It's a very strange thing. It's a very strange thing. Even though I don't want to do it again. It just, every time I do it, I cannot explain to you what it does to my brain as a person, what it does to my mental state and how I mean, I literally been crying for the last 2 days and I wept. I literally wept while I wrote what I wrote. And I'm just being honest here. You know, I don't want to keep this hidden. You see, this is why I'm doing this video, because I don't want to hide these things. And the hiding, yes, sometimes you have to hold back, but hiding things is the worst thing that you can do. I'm telling you, whether you want to say demons or metaphorical demons or whatever it is, they will keep building up and building up and building up, and it'll get stronger and stronger, and the weight will just keep getting heavier and heavier until you cannot hold it up anymore. And the structure is going to fall. It's just going to fall. I don't know how any other way to describe it. I'm doing my best here to describe it to everybody, but that's the only way I can describe it. And it only takes, see, here's the irony. I'm going to leave you with 2 quotes that I wrote, if I can remember them, what I wrote. Here's the irony of this. You take one link out of the chain, and the whole entire structure collapses. You can build for a lifetime. You can build and build and build. You can plant whatever food you want to plant. You can, I mean, and I'm not going to use that as an example. I'm not going to use something that has to do with goodness as an example. You can try to be this and you can try to be better and you can just do all these things in the name of pride, in the name of getting ahead and all this stuff. And all that it takes is one thing. There's something a girl said. She said something like, you never hit a man where they're weak. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. We should hit men where they're weak to show them where we are weak, but we shouldn't be scared to be weak at the same time. You see, we're all men, but we still have boys in us. How could we have become these men if we were never boys? How? We're still little boys. We act like we're men. We're still little boys. We're still little boys at heart. And I see the little boy in all of you out there. And I even see it in myself. And you know what? I love that little boy in myself. But I realize there is a lot of pros and cons to that little boy. I'm talking about the pros. The cons? No, I don't. They're horrible. And I don't ever want to look at them again. But as bad as it sounds, they make me remember what I know. And I have to have that mark on me forever, for an eternity. That stain will be upon my forehead and my everything I am for the rest of time. And I deserve it. I deserve to have them marks on me wherever them marks will be. You know, it's like, it's I have all this in my mind and my brain. It's like I don't need to have anything, with me or on me or a part of me or anything like that. It's just there and it's always going to be there. But this is what I wrote before I end this video. What any last words, Mr. Coleman? Don't ever put me on a pedestal. Don't ever put me on a pedestal. And I wrote something else. I forget what I said, but don't ever think that I'm lower than either. See, we don't know how to be here. We're always here, or here. Here, yeah. All these things that in the name of pride and ego and all these things, or I'm nothing and I can't do anything. See, we don't know how to do this. This is what I mean by neutralism. This is what I mean by staying grounded in this balance of neutrality. That's what I mean by it. So, yeah. That's what I wrote. I wrote about, and then I said neutralism. There is wicked contradiction, and there is laid back yet in your face contradiction. You see, there's two kinds of contradiction in this world. There are people that use contradiction for very wicked things, which I did. I did before. I'm guilty of that. But now I'm using contradictions. Like I said, I'm using them in a more laid back, but yet in your face approach. I never do anything that I do for some malicious intent or malicious reason. Now, are there times where I'm going to be tough? Are there times where I'm going to be bold? Are there times where I may have to slap my brother or even maybe, I don't want to say my sister because then people might take that wrong, but am I going to have to kind of maybe shake them up or smack them in the back of the head or say, hey, look, give them a punch to the chest? Yeah, but that's not violence. That is something different. This is why I say with sports and everything, we should focus on fair sport, if anything. This is why I resonate with boxing. This is why I resonate with Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier and Mike Tyson, George Foreman, all of them guys. Because they fought in the name of the people. They fought for the people watching them. You understand? They didn't fight. Yes, they had pride. They had pride. George Foreman had an experience with Jesus Christ too. I don't know if you ever watched that, but he had an experience himself where he's seen blood dripping from him. Now, he could have been hallucinating. He probably was more than likely, but it doesn't mean that it wasn't real for him. He said, the thorns are in his hands. It's in his hands. And he was like, hallelujah. I don't hate my brother anymore. I don't have their face on my punching bag anymore. I can't look at it like that anymore. You see, he had some kind of, I don't know if I could say hate, but he had something in him where he would put their faces on the punching bag and he just couldn't lose. And he had all the mansions, all the houses, the farms, everything. And it wasn't enough. It never is. Don't we understand this? It's never enough. This is why we need to ground ourselves. But see, I don't even want to say need, you have to do anything in this video. I'm not doing it that way anymore. I'm not forcing anything upon people. I'm just saying I need to ground myself. I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for another person. But what I want, what I wish for me, I wish for you in your own way. You see what I'm saying? It's very hard to describe. See, sometimes I can't even find words or the way that I am going for to say the things that I want to say to people, because sometimes you can't come up with the words. And y'all know what I mean. Y'all know what I mean with these things. You're not that you're not that dumb. I would like to think that people out there are not that dumb. I don't want to insult anybody. That's not what I want to do, because, I do that in my videos. I call people dumb and stupid and ignorant and all these things, but I do that to boldly correct them. It's like when a kid's acting up, you got to whoop their ass once in a while. And this is for anyone that's ever been abused or anything. I am not talking about you. I'm not referring to you. I'm just referring to a child that's acting up and you need to discipline the child. That's all I'm saying. See, we misinterpret things very easily. And I just want to say before I end this, I wish the best for all of y'all. I love all of y'all. I do love myself, but I have my own demons, and I have things that I deal with all the time, and I have marks upon me that they're not pretty and they're not fun to have. I'm no better than you, and I am no worse than you. I am no better than you. Always remember I said this. I am no better than you, and I am no worse than you. If it seems like that I'm putting myself above or below or anything of that sort, you have to understand I am a contradiction in and of itself. My whole life is a contradiction. It always has been. That's why I resonate with contradictions. My mom even called me contrary my whole life. She said, you're so contrary. And I used to hate when she said that, because I didn't even understand what she was really talking about. But she seen something in me that I couldn't see at that time. And listen, we see things in each other that we don't want to see. You see, we see the shame in other people, but we don't want to look at their shame and go, you know what? I accept you even in your shame, because I'm ashamed of some things too. And see, we just forget so easy. We forget so easy that really we are all brothers and sisters here. All the mothers and fathers there have ever been, they come from the same thing. I think that mankind has come from something. I mean, it's very, very hard for me to think that I do think that there's something very, very, very interesting, something with water, because that's where there can't be life without water. So, and it even says this in the beginning of the Bible, so they knew something. The men knew something, the men and women back in the day. Well, I don't think women were writing the scriptures, but it says, and he hovered over the face of the deep. He hovered over the waters. In the beginning, was the heaven and the earth was void and without form, and God hovered over the waters of the face of the deep. I don't remember exactly the things, but all I'm saying here is it's very hard to look at this and think that there is not something behind this for me. It's just very, very hard, and like I said, in order for me to talk about this, it's gonna take me it would take me, like I said, a whole series to just talk about these things, because people out there have not watched and experienced and seen what I have in my life, just like I have it in your life. It doesn't make me any better, any worse. It's just you may not understand some of the things that I'm talking about, what I'm talking about, and that's fine. Maybe you're not supposed to at that time. It's just it doesn't matter. And I'm gonna even leave a clip at the bottom of this video in the comment section about a clip with Woody Allen where he's talking about futility and other things, but then in the interview he says, "But you can't live like that." Everything, where's it going? Where are we getting? What's happening? What are we doing? All this stuff, but then you can't just live the one way all the time. I know for me that I can't. You see, I'm not speaking for another person. Yes, we might relate to what I'm saying, but I can't speak for anyone. I can only speak for me. I can only talk about my own guilt, my own shame, my own misery, my own demons, my own, disciplines, my own tough loves, my own everything that I know, I can only talk about. So I'm going to end this video there. And yeah, I mean, it's just life, it's a bittersweet symphony. That's life. I don't know what else to say. Watch The Verve, Bittersweet Symphony. Just listen to that song. So that pretty much explains it in a nutshell, and it's contradictions, and it's what it is. So I'll let y'all go with that. Thanks for watching. I appreciate every one of y'all. I love y'all. Take care of yourselves. It's all you can do. And the reason that I am taking down my Patreon, there was only one person on there anyway, and that doesn't matter. I'm not holding any grudge because there was only one person. To the brother that was on there, thank you. And to anyone who has ever given to my channel, thank you. But I'm just gonna leave the links for, if anybody wants to donate to the PayPal or whatever. If people, I don't even know if I'm going to keep my art up because I'm not marketing it or doing anything with it, even though I love it. It's my art. How can I not love it? But I might even take that down. So who knows? Maybe you wanna get something, because who knows? Maybe something might happen here, and but see, I don't. This is the reason why I don't want a Patreon, because it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. Someone saying, give me your money. I need your money. It's like, yes, there's a time to help people, but I never felt right about this. That's why I always kind of held back expressing certain things and letting people know how I really felt, or telling people what I wanted sometimes, because it never felt right. Money never felt right to me, even though, like I said, I need to use it as a tool. We should use it as a tool, not a weapon. But it just doesn't feel right to me. And I'm not against, it's not that I'm against money being used as a tool. I'm just against the how it brings men to pride and power and bloodlust and gain and idols and all these other things. I'm not for it anymore. And that's why I say that Jesus Christ showed me this stuff, y'all. I know a lot of y'all don't believe that stuff and you don't want anything to do with anything like that, but listen, I have to do this. If I didn't do this, it would just make me feel more guilty and ashamed, because I need to say that for myself. And if I don't, I'm keeping something from the world. I'm keeping something from other people, and I'm keeping it away from myself because really everyone is me. We're all just reflections of each other. And sometimes the reflections, we don't want to see them. And sometimes we do want to see them. And when we don't want to see them, we react in a way. And when we want to see them, we react in a way. And come and join the circus, come and join the craft, cope and craft with me because that's all that I'm doing. All right, y'all. Take care. I love y'all. Later.